Thanks, DJ. Hey, before I get started, I got some things that I need to talk about. First of all, I am currently getting over pneumonia, and so I'm not feeling very well. And so, first of all, no alcohol, please. I am on medication, and so that's actually what I want to say is that I don't have any alcohol in me, and so that a funny slide might not be so funny if I'm not drunk when I'm giving the presentation. So I apologize for that. Secondly, I do want to ask some real quick questions. First, how many people here have a fingerprint sensor on their cell phone? Woo! Awesome. Okay, got a couple more questions for you. How many people in the audience are law enforcement? Okay, so I got 2 liars. Okay, that's great. Okay, second question: how many people in the audience are criminals? Raise your hand. The same one there. Okay. So we got, hey, other law enforcement guy over here. There's criminals over there. Okay, third question. How many people in the audience are law enforcement but prefer not to say it? Raise your hand. Okay, got lots more of those. Okay, so thanks. What I want to talk to you about today is really the laws about your fingerprint sensor on your cell phone, right? But before I get started, I do want you to know that first of all, I am not a lawyer, okay? So I want you to understand that going through this conversation, make sure you realize where you're getting this information from. Additionally, I am not a cop, okay? So, if I do make statements about a police officer were to, say this, and your rights are there, once again, I'm not a police officer either. So please, please, please make sure you consider where you're getting this information. My name is Bill, and I'm American, okay? I am an American. I am an informed American. And occasionally I've watched a few videos on am I being detained, and so what I've determined from that is that I am the world's most leading expert in the laws as they pertain to the United States, and that I only have to roll my window down that far when I'm speaking to a police officer. So once again, really, I went through those slides just because I do want you to consider where you're getting this information from. I did do a lot of research. I have done a lot of the, sorry, I already said that. I've already done a lot of research around this, but I do want you to consider where you're getting this information from. And if you do have any questions, I would suggest that you talk either with one of the people that raised their hands as being a law enforcement. I would not suggest doing that because I know who they are and they're not law enforcement. Or I would suggest speaking to your attorney who's jurist and he's not here, so I can say that. So really what I want to, the crux of this whole presentation really stems around our Fifth Amendment. And I know that you guys know it by heart, and this is the Fifth Amendment, but quite honestly, the most important part I've bolded is that nor shall you be compelled in any criminal case to be witness against himself. Okay, it's really important, and there's been a lot of funny jokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about whether or not you can, what you should do and make sure that you don't testify against yourself. I want to tell you a tale of 2 safes. So, while the Fifth Amendment does prevent us from testifying against yourself, a defendant can be compelled to produce material evidence that is incriminating. Okay? That's really important. It's really important that you understand there's a big difference there, that you can be compelled to produce material that is incriminating. So a really good example is this tale of 2 safes. Okay? For example, you guys all watch cop shows or whatever. Fingerprints, blood samples, voice samples, handwriting samples, or other physical evidence can be extracted from a defendant against their will if it pertains to a case. Okay? Justice John Paul Stevens was talking about a safe when he said, "He may, in some cases, be forced to surrender a key to a strong box containing incriminating documents, but I do not believe that he can be compelled to reveal the combination to his Wolf safe." And if that isn't important to you, then you need to step back and think about what that means, right? So if I have two safes and one of them is protected with a key and one of them is protected with a combination, I need to understand what are the threats against that safe, right? You need to consider how we're protecting our data and who we're protecting that against. The Supreme Court then strengthened that position, and they stated, while the key is a physical thing and not protected by the Fifth Amendment, a combination as the expression of the contents of an individual's mind is. Okay, so I want you to stop and think about that. The Supreme Court has also solidified that statement. So, as it pertains to our safes in our houses, criminals, so we were very lucky that no criminals came tonight, but criminals, it's really time to switch out your safes, right? So if you have a safe that's protected by a key and you need to keep law enforcement out, you need to have a combination safe. But that being stated, if you do have a combination safe, be careful about where you keep the combination. If that combination is stored on a piece of paper or it has any other physical manifestation of itself, that could also be compelled. Sir, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just an informed American. It's a vulnerability, right? It's something that you have that you cannot change. I've asserted for many times that I really don't care for biometrics as an authentication mechanism. In fact, I've only turned over my fingerprints once. For the rest, for my whole life, I've been very protective of my fingerprints. It's seen as something that is proof positive. It's me. Right. So I've only turned over my fingerprints once, and unfortunately, that database has been lost. Right. So if now there is a distinct possibility that my fingerprints could be used in a crime that I didn't commit. And I have no way to prove that it wasn't me because, quite honestly, a fingerprint is almost proof positive that it was me. So I'm asserting that your fingerprint is a vulnerability and not a security measure, and you should treat it as such. As I was sourcing this slide, I realized that down there, this is not my finger. It really didn't matter which word I emphasized there. It would really change the meaning, right? So I could either say this is not my finger, or this is not my finger. That really changes that. Okay, last slide. So I do want to add some other implications that if your cell phone is compromised, through the use of your fingerprint or otherwise, what could be led to do? What could be used otherwise from there? If my cell phone were to be unlocked and to be accessed. People might have access to, my password safes, my VPNs, maybe my home network, right? Maybe my files that I've stored on Dropbox. They may be able to log into my computers. So if you were to access my password vaults, you could have access to my different computers. You could have access to my TrueCrypt or my VeriCrypt, as mentioned earlier, so to decrypt my full disk decryption drives, right? So really that's the end of my talk. I do want you, really the purpose of today's talk was just to get you to consider some of the security implications of using a fingerprint reader on your cell phone. Quite honestly, for most people, it's perfectly okay, right? And quite honestly, for me, it might be okay. You really do need to consider the threat. Is the threat someone stealing your phone, right? Or are you housing, world secrets on your phone that you need to protect, as much as you can, and consider the strength of that authentication mechanisms. Okay, that's the end. My name is Bill Swearingen, and thanks everybody. Bye.